Hello, I am Scope, and once again I'm here to talk about the Steam Deck. And if, like me, you opted for the 64GB version of the Steam Deck, you're probably getting constantly annoyed by this other taking up all of your internal hard drive space. And as a result, it pretty much means it's really unusable to even have just one AAA game. So, for instance, Shadow of the Tomb Raider takes up 35.7 gigabytes, so I can't even install it at the moment. Previously, this others was mostly shader caches, but since the last update, or maybe even the beta update, that problem has sort of gone away a little. It was so annoying at the time that I even wrote this utility to to get rid of the shader cache. But as you can see, at the moment, it's only taking up probably 900 megabytes, which isn't a lot. So it's kind of pointless deleting the shader cache now. While browsing Reddit, I noticed other people were having the same issue, and some clever sausage decided to symlink both their shader cache and their compact data onto the SD card and also move all their protons onto the SD card. And I thought that was a very clever idea. And that made me think, why not just move the entire home directory onto the SD card instead? So here I am in KDE Partition Manager, and as we can see on the internal drive, this is home, which is currently taking up 46.99 gigabytes of the internal drive. So what I'm going to do, instead of mounting this as home, I am going to just mount the SD card as home instead of run media. Now, there's probably going to be people that are going to tell me that you shouldn't do this, you really shouldn't put your home directory on a removable drive. And they're right, you probably shouldn't on, say, a server or a laptop that you're going to use for important things. But end of the day, this is a gaming device, and if it breaks, I'll just reset it. It's not a problem. So for this, I'm just going to use a 64GB SanDisk Extreme card. Ideally, you'd probably want to use a bigger card because you're not going to be able to swap SD cards. I did attempt this with a 200GB SanDisk Ultra, but during the process, I bricked the card, just completely bricked it. So I don't know whether the card was faulty or fake or who knows what, but it was brand new and it did brick it at doing this exact process. This is why I'm using the 64GB version. It'll do for now, and you probably won't be able to boot without this particular SD card in. So if this SD card does break, then you probably have to reset the system or go into the recover and change the mount points that way. But I'm fine with that, whatever. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is copy my existing home directory to this SD card. And to do that, I'm going to open my console, which is down here for some reason. And let's find out where we are. Well, I don't actually need to know where we are. We need to know what our mount point is, though. Let's stick that there. Run media. Let's see. So we're going to do... we'll probably need to do a sudo, probably. Sudo cp /home and star, and we are going to put that into run media and mmc blah blah blah. Oh, actually, we also probably need to put in a recursive and probably an attributes. So RA. I think that should be enough, and we're going to do that. We're going to need to put a password in. I probably should have put a V as well for the both, so I could actually see copying, because now it's just copying blind. But anyway, wait until that's finished. Some time later. So that is now completed, and my deck user is now copied over to my removable drive. So now at this point, we're going to have to switch our home mount point to our removable drive. So we first need to unmount this, and we are going to edit the mount point. We're going to use UUID, and we're going to give it a path of home. I'm just going to click OK for now, and that should then be here. It won't be mounted automatically because there is a conflict. And to solve that, we are going to go to our fstab, which is in etc. Oh no, sudo nano. I apologize. etc fstab. I'm putting our password. And here we can see, this is how the SteamOS normally sets our home directory. And what we're going to do is we are going to comment that out. And we are going to just quickly put a slash there. It should have a slash. And that should be it. So that's now set up. This is currently unmounted, and our internal drive is mounted. The changes that we've made to the fstab table should take effect when we restart. So I'm now going to perform a restart, and then we'll see if that's actually worked. So we are now back in the gaming mode of the SteamOS. And as you can see, my internal drive now shows up at 58.2 gigabytes and 44.43. So the gaming mode does not realize that I have moved my entire home directory from the internal drive onto the SD card. So now everything will just go here. There's no moving protons to the SD cards. There's no sim linking of files or folders. Everything is now just on my SD card. And now I'll just drop into desktop mode and quickly show you how this looks in KDE Partition Manager again. And there we go. Here we are in KDE Partition Manager. Our SD card is showing up as our home mount point, and on our internal drive, our original home is no longer mounted, which means we now have 46.99 gigabytes free to install. I don't know if I dare say it. Windows. So I hope that helps. And like I say, ideally you would want to use a far bigger card than a 64 gigabytes card for your home drive. But like I say, I tried to do this with a 200 gigabytes card and bricked the card when I tried to format it. I do have a 512 card, but I'm actually saving that for Windows. The rest of the internal partitions that are used by SteamOS are completely untouched. Both the A and B file systems, all that is still there. The SteamOS doesn't really know that this is running off an SD card now. But like I say, it does mean you cannot swap SD cards. If you try and boot this without the SD card in, I'm not actually sure what would happen. It would either not boot or it would try and create a new home directory somewhere, but there'll be no sort of space for it to do that. It might even try and relink this, but I'm going to delete this. And like I say, I'm going to put Windows on there. And just to prove that this still works, I'm quickly going to install Lonely Mountain Downhill and give it a play. And there it is. There's Lonely Mountains Downhill installed on what Steam thinks is my internal drive, but is in fact an SD card. And I will launch the game just to prove that it does actually launch. Oh man, this UI is terrible. Still. Right, where's my installed game? So thank you for watching. I hope this helped, and why not check out some other videos if you want. If you don't, then well, don't. And also, of course, this information is provided as is. It's not my fault if you break your Steam Deck. It's your own fault. Don't listen to random people on the internet. Go buy this game, by the way. It's a great game.